You fought, haven't you? You poured your entire being into this business. And lately, something is shifting. The phone's ringing more. Orders are coming in faster and new opportunities are knocking. That rush of momentum, it's intoxicating, isn't it? It screams, this is it. It's happening. Grow, expand, and do it now. And you desperately want to believe that. But what if, just what if, that surge of excitement, that raw desire to scale quickly is actually the single riskiest, most dangerous move that you could possibly make right now? What if the very dream you're trying to build upon is standing on ground that's silently starting to give way? Today we're going to have an incredibly honest conversation about a painful truth. I'm going to answer this question: why you must face your vulnerabilities, why you must fix your foundation before you even dare to imagine reaching for that next level. This isn't about stopping your dream. I want to tell you right now, it's not about that. It's about making sure your dream doesn't crush you. In the end, it's really about protecting your vision, protecting your sanity, and protecting your future. So stay with me because we're going to get into the grit on today's show. Welcome back to Grit and Growth Business. I'm Ralph Estep Jr. Now, remember last week we stood together and we unlocked that power of knowing your numbers. We talked about that incredible feeling when financial anxiety starts to give way to true control. And I'm hoping you're feeling that. Now, this week we're taking that hard-won insight, that newfound clarity, and we're going to apply it to what I call a monumental decision that many small business owners grapple with. Often, and too often, unfortunately, with painful results. And that's this: fix your foundation before you scale. Now listen, I know that burning desire inside you right now. I've felt it. You've been grinding for months. Maybe for you, it's even been years. You've weathered the storms that would have made most people quit. They would have just walked away. You paid your dues. You dug deep in the trenches. And friend, you've got the battle scars to prove it. And then finally, blessedly, I would say, things are starting to click in your business. You're getting more leads. You've got a growing team. Your revenue is climbing. And it's thrilling. It's an immense, thrilling energy, this primal urge to pour more fuel on that fire, to just go like gangbusters. Because you hear this all the time. I hear it all the time. Everyone talks about scaling as this ultimate badge of honor, the sign you've made it, right? But here's the painful reality I've witnessed countless times over my 3 decades in business. Yeah, 3 decades makes me feel old too. And I've even felt this myself in those moments of over-ambition, scaling too fast, too furiously on a weak and cracking or unfinished foundation. Let me just tell you, that's one of the quickest, most agonizing ways to bring a promising business and the soul behind it, you, to its knees. Think about this for a minute. I think this is a great way to imagine this. Imagine building the house of your dreams, and you put together the plans, you've selected the property, you love this place. So you're putting it together. Every brick, every beam of that thing represents your late nights. Those nights you thought would never end, those missed family dinners. Yeah, hon, I'll be home shortly. All of your personal savings, everything you have, you've poured into your business. Now, you wouldn't think of adding a grand second story or expanding the new wing if the very foundation, what you were putting in the ground, was poured and was still settling. Or if the plumbing in the original structure was already leaking, you got pipes bursting all around. Or if that electrical wiring was tangled and exposed, would you? Think about that for a second. You'd be inviting disaster. You wouldn't do that if you were building a home. But here's the problem. In business, we feel this immense pressure to grow or die. And we often push for expansion without truly shoring up the core of our businesses first. And I got a story for you. I can still remember meeting with a client about 10 years back. And this guy was a neighbor of ours when my kids were really young. It's probably been closer to 20 years now that I think about it. And he's one of these guys, he had always been an employee, but he decided this moment he was going to venture out on his own. He was taking the leap, as they say. He was putting it all out there. He saw this opportunity. He saw the potential. And I remember he came up down the street one day and he says, Ralph, he says, you do accounting work, right? I said, I absolutely do. I said, you can schedule an appointment with me. So he scheduled an appointment with me and he came in, him and his wife, to discuss his business plan. And he was so excited about being on his own, owning his own business, setting his own schedule. Yes, he was thrilled. And I was happy for him. I looked over his plan and I thought, wait a minute here. We got a problem here. And as I'm looking at this plan, I found this huge, what I call gaping hole. And I saw it right away. It was obvious to me. He was way undercapitalized. He was doing things on what I will call a shoestring budget. He had very little of his own money to even get started. Like I said, he was one of these guys that was working from week to week, paycheck to paycheck. And he had been promised these huge jobs doing new construction homes. And he was the guy who installed all of the closet racks. You know, the person that came at the end, they put the closet racks up, the towel holders, the little odds and ends, those finishing touches that you add to a home. But I started thinking about this. And I quickly realized he was going to be at the end of each of those projects. And unfortunately, being at the end of the project meant he was going to be one of the last people paid, because basically he wasn't going to get paid until the house sold. So him and his wife, they came in, they sat down, I talked to him, I looked at their business plan, and I brought this to his attention. And I said, hey, are you concerned about getting paid? He says, no, Ralph, you don't understand. These builders love me. They absolutely love me. I do a great job for them. They count on me. They're sending me all their new projects. And I said to him, that's great. That's fantastic. You've got a whole level of volume of business coming your way. But I asked him this question. I said, how long will it take for them to pay you? He kind of looked at me like I was crazy. He was taken back by the question. And like I said, he was used to having that Friday paycheck. But now all of a sudden, he was on the other side of the desk, as they say. He had to buy the materials. He had to pay the employees. He had to handle all the overhead, the truck payments, the insurance. You get the idea, all those things that someone else always handled. And he had very little cash to start. Now, he told me he had more cash than he did, but I'll talk about that in a second. And he was going to be putting that small amount of cash, all of it on the line, hoping, and listen to me, hoping he would get paid quickly to keep up with his expenses. Now, look, I've got a little inside baseball information. I know how home builders and contractors routinely pay. They pay slow. I mean, slow as molasses. I'm talking 60 days if you're lucky, more like 90, 120, or yes, even 180 days to get paid. So think about it for a second. He was going to need at least 2 or 3 months worth of operational cash just to get started. So I said this to him. I shared this with him, and he said, come on, no problem, Ralph, we've got this. Now, looking back at it, it was in my earlier days of my career, I should have known better. I looked across and I saw his wife roll her eyes, and I knew right then something was up. And deep down, I had this feeling that this guy would be out of business in less than 3 months. And I didn't like that feeling, because I'm all about helping people find their business, build their dreams. So being honest, I said to him, listen, I think you need more money to get started. And let me just tell you right now, it was like I hit him over the head with a hammer. He jumped up, got mad, stormed out of the office, left his wife and I just sitting there wondering what just happened. Now, he ended up returning a few minutes later and apologized, but I knew deep down I was crushing his dream. That's what I was doing. I was crushing his dream, but I saw where he was going to end up. Because he'd already told me he's going to be buying 3 new vans. Okay, so he's going to have payments on 3 new vans. He was going to have 3 2-man crews to put in those vans. So he had the payroll costs for that and the payroll taxes and all the overhead. He had insurance to worry about and materials and all kinds of other supplies. So I told him again, I said, I think you need to wait. And I mean this from my heart. You don't have the money to scale like this. Now, you probably already know the end of the story. Of course, he didn't listen to me. He just went ahead and did what he thought was best. And I remember his wife called me I want to say it was about 90 days later, to tell me that they need to come in and see me again. She needed to discuss, and ready for this? She needed to discuss how they were going to close the business. And I thought to myself, well, I figured that was going to happen. But worst of all, and this was the saddest part of it all, she needed the name of a good bankruptcy attorney. See, it turns out that just 1 month into the business, as I predicted, the cash was gone. It was non-existent. So after 30 days, they took out a home equity loan to fill the gaps. So now 3 months into it, they were broke. They had 3 vans out for repossession from the bank, on the verge of losing not only their life savings that they had put into this business, but they were facing the real possibility of being homeless. And see, that's why it's so important for us to talk about scaling properly. That's why I want to talk about on today's show and ensuring that everything is in place before making these big moves. Because if you're listening right now, I want to help you avoid this kind of situation. And see, this pain is not just financial. And though it will hit you, it'll hit your wallet like with a vengeance. That's the truth. It hit him. But it's that creeping operational chaos that steals your sleep one night at a time. It's that heartbreaking customer service failures that chip away at your reputation that you so carefully built. It's burning out your good people until they just quit. They've had enough, taking invaluable knowledge with them. And its quality dropping to unacceptable levels. But most agonizingly, it's that gut-wrenching feeling of losing control over the very thing you poured your life into, your beautiful dream turning into a relentless nightmare. See, you were excited. You thought you were expanding your success, but in the end, all you did was expand your problems into a bigger, more complex, and listen to me on this, soul-crushing mess. So let's talk about that problem of not knowing what's really happening under the hood of your business. And I just want to take a few minutes and talk about some of the common symptoms that scream, stop, beloved builder, fix this now before you try to grow. And I just want to talk about how these symptoms manifest as real, very tangible pain points in your day-to-day business and in your life. And see, this is what I've seen way too many times. So let's work through these together. Let's start with this one. I call it just-in-time operations, which actually means barely in time. Think about your daily grind. Ask yourself this very difficult question. Are you constantly reacting to emergencies instead of working proactively? Think about it like this. Let's say you're a plumber. So is your plumber running out of a common part halfway through a job, causing delays and causing that client to be frustrated? Maybe you're in landscaping. Is your landscaper constantly scrambling for tools because nothing's organized, wasting precious billable hours? Okay, pet peeve here. Going to go on a Ralph rant. Get used to that, because on this show, we're going to have some Ralph rants from time to time. I don't know how many times I've had contractors come to my home to fix stuff. Yes, I try to support my clients and use them when I have a need. And they show up for the job and their truck is a complete disaster. I'm talking so bad that when they open the door, stuff's falling out of the truck. So if you hear nothing else I say today, organize your business, especially your tools. And you might be saying, Ralph, why is it? Because listen, this is a direct reflection not only of your professionalism, but that lack of basic organization is going to cost you, and hear me on this, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars in lost billable time. And material's going to go missing. I guess I better get back to what I was saying. Done with the Ralph Power rant. Let's continue with what we were talking about. So let's say you're a service provider. Is your service provider juggling 3 urgent client requests at once, letting balls drop and promises break? See, this isn't just inefficiency. It's this constant adrenaline spike, chronic stress, and a feeling of being perpetually behind. If you're listening right now, have you ever been there? I know I've been there. And if you're scaling, it's only going to amplify this chaos until it becomes utterly unmanageable. Then you're going to be doing jobs over and over again. You have massive redos. You're going to lose clients. You're going to get exhausted. And your ineffective staff is ultimately going to say, I've had enough of this. I'm out of here. That's the first thing. Let's look at the next thing. And that's weak or non-existent systems and processes. And I don't know how many clients I've dealt with in this situation. Ask yourself this. How do things really get done in your business? How do they get done? Do you have clear, documented steps for everything from how a lead becomes a client, or maybe how a project is delivered from start to finish? Or how about this one? You want to get paid how an invoice is sent and followed up on? Or is everything reliant on your memory, your intuition, or some what I'll call tribal knowledge locked inside your team's heads? That is a recipe for disaster. And the pain here is deep. It's maddening inconsistency, repeated errors, frustrating miscommunication, and hear me on this one, soul-sucking experience of constantly reinventing the wheel. All right, then let's add scaling to that. So when you try to scale, this weakness means every new customer or every new employee adds exponentially more chaos. Not just more volume, more chaos. Training new staff becomes impossible because there's no clear roadmap for them to follow, leading to high turnover, wasted resources, and a feeling that you're just constantly bailing water. Let's look at another major concern. Inconsistent quality or customer experience. This will definitely sink a business. Ask yourself this, and this is not an easy thing to ask. Is your business delivering a consistent, high-quality experience every single time, regardless of who they interact with or how busy you are? I told you that one was going to be tough. Or, like most businesses, do things noticeably slip when you get swamped, when you're busy? Ralph, we're so busy I can't get to you till tomorrow. And then when the guy shows up or the lady shows up to do the work, they don't have the tools or they don't have the materials. And that little slipping, that slipping becomes a landslide over time, and certainly when volume increases. Like I said, you're going to pour more gasoline on the fire, and that landslide is going to go even bigger. The pain here is significant, and it's long-lasting. It's that constant customer churn. It's negative reviews that spread like wildfire online. Listen, I'm going to get to this in a second. And a damaged reputation that takes years, even decades to rebuild, if you can even rebuild it. Here's something I thought about. Think about that restaurant where you had a bad meal. That one, such and such told me, the meals are here pretty good. You went and checked it out. And it was awful. It was terrible. Maybe the service was completely unbearable. Well, if you have that experience, you tell everyone you know about how bad it was. You tell every single person, don't go there. That place is terrible. You might not share that great meal, but you will surely tell of the bad ones. And the same thing goes for your business. Your customers are going to tell everyone they know about how you dropped the ball, how you messed up the job. You weren't on time. It wasn't done right. Your truck was a disaster. Your billing is a mess. And if you think about it for a second, that's the opposite of what we're trying to grow. That's the opposite of referrals. That, my friend, is business destruction. And see, if you're trying to scale on a broken customer experience, it simply means breaking it for more people and breaking it faster. Your growth will be built on a leaky bucket, constantly losing customers as fast as you gain them, making true profitability an impossible dream. Now let's talk about cash flow. Remember, we covered cash flow in the first episode. Well, I want to revisit that some. This is exactly what my client I mentioned earlier experienced. If you think the cash flow is bad now, wait until you scale. Because here's the truth, and hear me on this. Cash flow is a constant roller coaster. And it's the part a lot of people don't want to talk about, even with more revenue coming in the door. You just assume I got more revenue coming in the door. Cash flow is going to be better. We talked about this in episode 4. Remember when I said, are you still busy but broke? Is money coming in but disappearing just as fast, leaving you scrambling to pay for payroll or unexpected expenses or even your own meager salary? I can't tell you how many times my small business clients went for months or even years with no paycheck, but that's a topic for a whole nother show. And the pain here continued paralyzing financial anxiety that gnaws at you day and night. Because here's the thing you got to understand, and I tried to express this to this client. Scaling demands capital. You got to have money because you're going to have more staff. You're going to have more inventory. You're probably going to need a bigger space. You're going to need more aggressive marketing. You get the idea. More, and more. Which means more cash, more credit, and more loans, which means more payments. And if your cash flow isn't solid, if it's not predictable, and if it's not managed well at your current size, scaling is going to throw you into a deeper, more dangerous hole of debt and a deeper, more dangerous level of instability. And that, my friends, is a terrifying place to be. And last, but certainly not least, I could have put this one first. You or your key people are constantly overwhelmed. I don't know how many of my clients have said this to me. Ralph, I'm just completely overwhelmed. So look around honestly and ask yourself, are your most vital employees already working 60, 70, 80 plus hours a week? Are you always putting out fires? If you're feeling stretched to the breaking point, sacrificing your personal time, sacrificing your family time, and not to mention your physical and mental health. So not only is your business struggling, but maybe your marriage is struggling. Your relationship with your kids is non-existent. And when was the last time you had a healthy meal or got some exercise? The pain is palpable. Complete burnout, silent resentment among your team, devastatingly high employee turnover that cost a fortune in recruiting and training, and the crushing reliance on one or two individuals for absolutely everything. And scaling just simply adds more work to already overloaded plates, leading to what I'll call the total collapse of morale and operational capacity. See, this is how you lose your best people, and ultimately, you're going to lose yourself. So let's just pause here for a second. If any of these resonate with you, my friend, hear me. Before you scale, your foundation needs urgent, loving attention. And listen, this is not about halting your dream. It's about making your next stage of growth sustainable, joyful, and genuinely exciting, rather than the other side of this. And what I've talked about today is terrifying and it's destructive. But there is good news here. And this is what I'll call truly liberating news. The truth is, acknowledging these cracks is the first most courageous step that you can take. Acknowledge them. Put those out there because you've got the power, the incredible grit to fix this. And see, this isn't about abandon your ambition. You don't have to abandon your ambition. It's bigger than that. It's about strategic pauses and deliberate, intelligent building. It's about securing your future and protecting the dream you've worked so hard to get to. Have I made my case today? I think I have. All right, well, let's get to the actions that you can take because I never want to do a show where I don't give you something that you can take away with. Now, let me be bold. These aren't just actions that you can take. These are steps that you've got to take. So you got your pen and paper ready? Don't worry. I'm going to have an action sheet for this show later on. I'm going to talk about that later on the show. But I want to give you some concrete, actionable steps that you can take this week to begin fixing your foundation before you scale. Number one thing, I want you to document one core process in your business. Let's call this your business's how-to Bible. I just want you to pick one mission-critical process that you or your team repeat constantly. Maybe it's how you onboard a new client or how you deliver your primary service from start to finish, how you manage your inventory, or how you close out a project. Take the time, even if it's just 30 or 60 minutes, to document every single step in your business. Write it down, even if it's just simple bullet points, or create a basic flow chart. Because this simple act immediately reveals inefficiencies. It identifies bottlenecks, and it truly creates a repeatable system. And this is the first tangible step to being able to delegate effectively, train new staff more easily, and ensure that consistent quality even when you're not personally overseeing every single thing. And that is a huge stress point for a lot of small business people. They want to oversee every single thing. And what they don't realize is they can't scale if they're doing it all themselves. It's building your business instruction manual. Now listen, I've done this with many businesses that I've coached over the years. It is incredibly an effective process. In fact, right now, I'm doing this with my staff of my accounting firm. And it's amazing how many inefficiencies we've already found, and we're just getting started. Well, let's move on to my second recommendation today. And you've got to identify your capacity breakers, those things that are breaking your capacity, and design a solution for that. Ask yourself this very important question. Where are you or your core team members consistently hitting that wall? What's causing the biggest bottleneck in your daily business flow? Maybe for you, it's responding to every single inquiry personally. Like I said, you've got to delegate. You've got to learn how to be effective in delegation. You're spending too much time on administrative tasks. any of these sound familiar to you? Now listen, don't judge yourself. And if you want to get somewhere, you got to start being honest. If you're being honest, most of us have dealt with these issues at some time in our business journey. But right now, it's time to pinpoint the biggest constraint on your current capacity. What is your biggest constraint on your current capacity of what you're doing? And once you've identified it, it's time to explore some solutions before you add more volume. You can't add more volume if you don't have a good system in place to begin with. Consider a couple things. Can you automate a piece of your workflow with simple software? I've seen many businesses have benefits from implementing just a simple piece of software. I know a lot of my clients that are skilled trades and all that use software out on the road to manage their jobs, and that's really been helpful for them. Maybe for you, you might think about outsourcing a specific task to a freelancer, even if it's just a few hours a week. Maybe ask yourself, can you batch similar tasks together to improve efficiency? Maybe in your business, you need to set clearer boundaries with your clients on your expected response time. But you've got to study, you've got to figure out what those things are, because this targeted effort helps you understand your true capacity and how to expand it smartly without everyone burning out. And listen, this is mission critical for your business. Well, here's another suggestion, another thing I want you to consider. Audit your business customer experience for consistency. I want you to be your own customer. This is a vital thing that you must do for your business. Put yourself genuinely in your customer's shoes and start from the very first contact with your business through that sales process, through the service delivery, and even post-delivery follow-up, and then ask yourself this very difficult, agonizing question. What is their experience like? Is it consistently excellent, regardless of who they interact with or how busy you are? Ask for candid feedback from some of your recent clients. Look at some of the common complaints or recurring questions that you get. Or even you can even secretly shop your own business if you've got a trusted friend who will do it for you. And right now, like I said, I'm doing this with my own staff. We've already found some serious deficiencies in our own telephone system, and we're making adjustments to improve customer contact right away. We're asking our clients for feedback, and more importantly, this is the most important part. If you're going to ask for feedback, act on their recommendations. I'm not telling you to act on every single thing they tell you, but do listen and do act on some of these. You got to do the same thing in your business. So I'm going to encourage you today, identify 1 or 2 points where the experience is inconsistent or the experience drops off. Because here's a powerful truth, and it's one you've got to hear and understand. Your reputation of your business is built on consistency. And scaling means you need to deliver that consistency to more people more often. I want to say that again because you need to hear this. Your reputation is built on consistency. And scaling, making your business larger, means you need to deliver that consistency to more people more often. And see, fixing these gaps now will lead to massive referral business and raving fans later. Because you'll be building what I call brand ambassadors. And hear me again on this. Every business needs some amazing brand ambassadors. I'll tell you, I love it when I see one of my clients referring others to me on Facebook. Those are my brand ambassadors. And let me tell you, they are the key to my business growth. So find your brand ambassadors today and reach out and thank them. They are helping you grow your business. Let's talk finances. You know, everyone's favorite subject, finances. This is the time where you've got to bolster your financial buffer, your business emergency fund. This connects directly to what I talked about in episode 4. And if you haven't reviewed that episode, I'm going to recommend that you check it out before you're scaling. So before you scale, you must have a stronger financial cushion. Think back to that client I told you about. I mentioned that earlier. That was his biggest downfall. He didn't have that emergency cushion. So I'm going to tell you right now, you got to aim to have a cash reserve that can cover at least 2 to 4 weeks of essential operating expenses. That's the bare minimum, 2 to 4 weeks. Now listen, if you're into construction or other similar areas or you've got a lot of overhead, this needs to expand. And hear me on this, at least 3 to 6 months. So if you're thinking about starting a business and you don't have 3 to 6 months worth of working capital, it's not the time to start a business. Because this buffer allows you to absorb those unexpected costs. Because if you've been in business for any length of time, you know the unexpected happens. It's going to help you manage those cash flow fluctuations and fund those small improvements without going into panic mode. I don't know how many times over the years I've had clients call me in a panic. Ralph, I've got to do this. This emergency repair comes up. This machine broke down. The truck broke down. I need to, yes, all of those things. And if you don't have that financial buffer, you're going to be in panic mode. Think of it like this. If you try to scale without a buffer, it's like going to war without supplies. You're going to be constantly on the brink of disaster. And every little hiccup, I'm talking about every small hiccup, becomes a major crisis. But that buffer buys you peace of mind. It buys you strategic flexibility and the ability to actually sleep at night. Now, I know I've covered a lot today. I bet you're feeling a bit overwhelmed at this point. And I get it. See, this pressure can grow to feel immense, almost intoxicating. That pressure to grow, but true growth, sustainable growth, is built on strength, not speed. I'm going to repeat that because you've got to hear that. True growth, sustainable growth, is built on strength, not speed. It's about being deliberate. It's about being intentional and being incredibly courageous, even to slow down. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to take a minute, identify the cracks, fix what's broken, and build that solid foundation before you construct that next story. This isn't delaying your dream. It's guaranteeing its survival. See, you've got the grit to push, but now let's apply that grit to pause, to perfect, and to truly strengthen that foundation. I say this to business clients all the time. It all starts with a strong foundation. And this disciplined approach is the true mark of a successful, enduring entrepreneur. So as I promised earlier, I want to help you during this critical phase. I've created a simple action plan sheet for this episode. It's called Fix Your Foundation Before You Scale. It's free. It's a downloadable sheet that will guide you through documenting a core process, identifying your capacity breakers, auditing your customer service experience for consistency, and calculating your financial buffer needs. It's a practical tool to help you build that solid foundation for your next stage of growth with confidence and with peace of mind. You can download it right now by going and visiting our website. Just go to gritandgrowthbusiness.com/action. Again, that's gritandgrowthbusiness.com/action. Download the action plan sheet and start shoring up your business for real, sustainable growth. Listen. The decision to scale is exciting, but that decision to scale smart, that's what separates long-term winners from those who crash and burn. You've worked too hard. You've sacrificed too much to let a shaky foundation derail your dreams. Take this time to build it right. The stability you gain now will pay dividends in peace. It'll pay dividends in profit. And in the end, true freedom. You've got this. I'm right here walking alongside you every step of the way. So thank you for joining me on Grit and Growth Business. I'm committed to bringing you honest conversations and practical strategies every single week to help you build your business the right way. Now, next week, we're going to dive into another highly relatable topic for anyone feeling stretched thin and struggling with their emotional reserves. It's called Burned Out, Let's Rebuild. We're going to explore the painful signs of burnout and how to systematically reignite your passion and your energy for your business. So make sure you don't miss our next meeting. And don't forget to download your free action plan sheet for the episode at gritandgrowthbusiness.com/action. Remember, you've got the grit. Now let's get to the growth. One step at a time. God bless you. And I'll see you next week on Grit and Growth Business, strategies to grow your business. And remember, we're just getting started.
Thanks for joining us today on Grit and Growth Business, the show where real business owners find the clarity, courage, and confidence to build something that lasts. If this episode spoke to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. Remember, success isn't easy. And there are no shortcuts, but with grit, growth is possible. And when in doubt, just ask Ralph. This show is a production of Ask Ralph Media, supported by Saggio Accounting Plus. The content in this episode is based on information available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. are under no obligation to update it should circumstances change. Please understand. This episode is not intended to be financial, tax, or legal advice. Your unique situation deserves tailored guidance, so before making any decisions, consult with your trusted tax professional or attorney.